Mm. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize it was like this. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. You guys are getting me in the real and the raw this morning or today, wherever you're listening from. All of my streaming stuff is like put away, and so I'm on screen trying to gather myself. um, Let me see a couple of things here while I do this. Hmm, okay, so all right. I'm not gonna, you see my cat up there. I'm not gonna be on this thing long, but I did want to spend a few minutes and talk about this. And I think I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it. I want to introduce you guys to a decision that I've made. I've made the decision months ago, and I am welcoming you into this journey because I was going to keep it a secret until like I got there and until I was settled and all of this stuff. And just the process of going through this have made me realize that it's important to talk about it and talk about the journey even before I get there. Um, and what I'm talking about is this decision that I made about 8 months ago to move back to Jamaica. Um, some of you know I moved back to the UK about 3 years ago. And getting here was one of a very steep learning curve for me. I wasn't expecting some of the outcomes, some of the experiences I've had here. I really wasn't expecting it. I was thinking of it was going to be a lot different. See, the camera is back to front, and I hate when it does that. Anyway, so what I really want to talk about with you today is the difference between warning and wisdom, and specifically what this move to Jamaica, or the decision to move back to Jamaica, has taught me about family, about fear, and about healing. And I think I've made a lot of content around this recently because I have had to work through this myself. I've had to navigate my own feelings and figure out where they're coming from and all of those things. I had to do all of those things myself. And that's something that you do when we talk about personal growth and personal development. That responsibility is not on anyone else, it's on you. It's on you to figure out. And I keep adjusting because I'm looking at the camera, right? And the camera is flipped. So this is, yeah, that's my left hand, but on my looking at it, it's on the right. This is very different from the other platforms that I've used, because right now I'm just using YouTube, and before I'd use a different platform. So this is flipped around and it's making my face look weird. Like, oh my God, I don't recognize what's going on. And it's just really confusing. Anyway, so I'm just going to get into it. And if I need to do another video, I will when I'm dressed. But when I got up this morning, I thought, you know what? First of all, I woke up to a very chilling message. And it was unfortunate because you feel like the people that you should be around you should be, and what they're doing, they may be actually trying to protect you, and whatever the message is that they're sending may be well intentioned, but it's coming out of a place of fear. And that place of fear may not be like rooted in reality, but it may be rooted in a projection of their experiences, what they've gone through, or what they didn't do, or their own regrets. And some of that may have no bearing on your reality at all. And what I mean by that is Some of that projection is not taking into account who you are, what you've done, the plans you've made, the thoughts you've already worked through. Because sometimes people think when you tell them something, that's the first time you've said it. They think that sometimes when it comes out of your mouth and you sharing it with them, that you've not had any thought behind it and that you are actually asking for their permission when you are in fact just sharing a decision that you've already made. So I woke up to a very chilling message, and I'm going to start with that because that's what inspired me to decide to just get up without makeup, well, I did brush my teeth, so gratefully, and I washed my face, so don't come for me. But without having my podcast microphone, any of those things, I decided to come on here and do this because part of my brand is, one is transparency, but two, it's also not shrinking behind a fear. And that's part of my message. Like, I feel as though I have built a platform, and even though sometimes I feel like I've neglected it, like, because I'm not neglecting it on purpose, like, I am doing a bunch of other things that I have to get done, and I'm doing it by myself. So I have to like compartmentalize, and sometimes some things like don't get the attention that I want it to get. And recently it's been my live streams, it's been these types of conversations that I need to have, that candid conversation that I need to have with you, my audience, because I have built this over the years on the back of having candid conversations around hard things, around hard topics, around topics that makes us feel some type of way. I have done that for years, and I have written books on the subject. So at this point in my life, it does not serve me well, and it doesn't serve the people that my audience, for me to hide behind my own fear or hide behind the projection of other people's fears without addressing them, without talking about them, without sharing them. And I know there are tons of content all over the internet. And sometimes that's one of the things I'm like, man, do I really, really need to go and say anything about anything when there's so much content about all types of things on the internet? But this is my personal experience. And I feel as if I'm dealing with this because, none of us live in a bubble. There is somebody else out here right now making the decision to move back to Jamaica or move back to their homeland, and it may not be in the first world country that people are used to, that they usually send people to for a better life. And so it's daunting and even jarring for some people to believe that you would make a decision, not forced. You're not forced to go back to that country, but you're making a decision to go back and not just take from the country, but you feel as though you can contribute. And that's where I come in, because I feel like I can contribute to the country that bore me, to the country that contributed significantly to the foundation of who Marsha is. And it is very frustrating, disappointing, hurtful, disheartening when you hear from people who are from the very country that you're from, that is from your family members that may still be living there, that have some awful things to say. And then that is where you have to put in. And I'm telling you, this part is not easy. And so I understand when you don't share all your plans with people, because sometimes people's mouth, because they don't understand, sometimes there's the power of the tongue. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. And your ears is a gateway that allows, if people are talking and you allow that stuff to get into your head, that could even change your whole way, not just your mood, but your own like vision of what you want for your life. Even if you've already thought through things, you might start second guessing yourself, third guessing yourself, just thinking, and all of those things affect you. See, none of us live in isolation, and none of the things that happen to us happen in isolation. They affect us. They affect us on minuscule levels and on major levels. So when people are speaking certain thoughts into your head, and they may be well intentioned, They may have good intentions. They may. But I want to dissect that as well. I want to talk about that as well. But sometimes, even if those people are saying those things out of they're trying to say it from a good place and they just don't know how to word it well, they don't know how to say it. We have to be very mindful of what we allow to come into our ear gates and in our eye gates, what we allow to enter into our temple, what we allow to set up shop, if you will. Because every word, everything you see plants a seed. And sometimes someone's words, something that you've been watching, waters that seed, whatever it is. And you have to be a good caretaker of who you are, a good steward of who you are, and go in and say, some of this stuff do not belong here. These thoughts do not serve me well, and I no longer need them planted in this garden. I need them removed. I need to pluck them up. I need to get rid of them. And I know for some people, that also means not talking to certain people at all, like cutting yourself off from them. Because if you keep listening to the words that come out of their mouths, instead of it being light and encouragement, it is death and discouragement, and it's disheartening. So, as I read this message, my heart, I felt it. I felt it. And it wasn't just a text message, it was a situation where this brought me back to childhood, to remembering that the people who are supposed to know how to protect you, they sometimes unintentionally, sometimes unintentionally, and sometimes it's purely out of two things that I'm going to address. One of them is a projection of their own fears, but the other is because they actually don't want to see you win in that same space that they've been, because that would eradicate any excuses that they would have had. So instead of encouraging you, they can't do that. They can't do that. They can't do it. And sometimes those people have to figure out for themselves, why am I saying these things? Why are these the words coming out of my mouth? Now, let's talk about the difference between warning and wisdom. So I said, hey, I'm moving back to Jamaica. I'm going to be in your area. And the message was, I know you're going to regret moving back here at this time when the country is going downhill. Wish you all the luck. You've been warned. First of all, some of us come from families where it is very easy. It's by default. Fear is a default. Hardship is a default. Suffering is a default. Things going wrong is default. Always looking for the worst in every situation is default. Some of us come from those environments and they have inbred they have framed our mindset, and they have framed our perception of life, that no matter where we go, we carry this same seed of doubt, of heaviness, of warnings and fear and heaviness and just burden and shackles and chains, and we take it everywhere with us. And we sometimes wonder why we don't have different outcomes when we're taking with us everywhere we go the same mindset, the same heaviness. And so this message is twofold. And I responded in light manner because, for one, I'm an adult now. I'm an adult who have survived all my childhood experiences and all my adult ones up until this point. And I have done that with resilience, with savviness, with wisdom. I have done some dumb stuff and I've learned from them. And I have done some things that have caused personal growth, even when I don't have or see the financial growth. Because a lot of times we quantify how much you've learned and grown and developed by how much you make. So I look at this text message. I look at this message, and it's not just this person's message, because I get it from other people as well. So they may say it differently, but I get it from other people as well. So the first thing is, you do believe, like you do take in and somehow believe what their words, their projections, their fear is your own. And even if you had your own fears, you also now believe this is prophecy. Surely this person knows something I don't. Surely they know I am going to regret this decision. Surely they know that I'm going to feel hardship and pain. Surely they know. And because they know something I don't, that means I should inevitably leave everything, abandon everything that I've planned, and go into the safe zone that they've created. And by the way, when we talk about safe zone that they've created, the people that are having these opinions, just think back over your life. How much input and contribution did those people have in the growth and development of your life? And sometimes they did. Sometimes, because, there's a season for everything. There's a season for everything, and there's a time where there are people in your life for that moment, and there are time where people are there for a longer time, a lifetime. Um, Sometimes those people are just there for a season, and so sometimes those people do contribute to your growth and your development and your well-being for that season. So it brought me back to childhood, to a time where I had no say in how I was treated, to a time where I didn't have, I couldn't do a lot. I couldn't do a lot about my circumstances. I didn't have a lot of say so. I didn't have a lot of power to change much. And so the people who somehow feel I'm indebted to them were around during that time period where Marsha didn't have the ability to make different choices. She had to go along, she had to deal with, she had to survive through. But as years unfold, like I've grown through that. That little Marsha is still within me, but I'm not just that little Marsha. I have gained so much. I have learned so much. I have developed. And so while those people from my childhood may remember how they may have contributed when I was in a stage of my life where I had no say so, I couldn't do anything, and they may use that as reasons for now being able to say whatever they want to say. I have to then check myself. I then have to say, okay, Marsha, it's not their responsibility because they haven't seen the work you've put in. They don't know. They don't know. They just remember little Marsha. They just remember that they may watch her on screen. They may see her in some photos. They may hear somebody say something about her, but they don't know her. They don't know the work she's put in. They don't know. So I can't take it personal when a person who only remembers me and knows me from when I was in a space where I could not help to create the change that I needed, for them to think that you're going to regret a decision you've spent months thinking about, planning through. And I don't plan, child. And I've been planning. And you think you can tell me that I'm going to regret that decision. I could. I could. But the thing is, the difference is nobody knows that. At this point in the game, nobody knows that, not even me. With all the plans that I've put in place, not even I know if I'm going to regret that decision. I never anticipated regretting the decision to move back to the UK. I did not anticipate that whatsoever. Now, because part of me forgot that I didn't like it here. To be honest with you, part of me just had the nostalgia of me living here when I was younger, but I forgot that I hated the weather. I forgot that I didn't really like the food. I forgot a few things until I moved back here. And London is very different from where I live. That's true. And so maybe if I'd moved back to London, it would have been a different experience, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. And this is what I want to like get into people's heads. There are no guarantees. And when people talk as if they have prophecies over your life, there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees. What you can do after you make a decision, because the decision to do anything is just the beginning, as my book says, it's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. The rest of it takes work. And just even making a decision sometimes takes work, but the rest of it takes work. So you can't necessarily take people's words personally, because now it's when they regurgitate on you, they vomit these things on you, and then it's now your responsibility to clean it up for yourself. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a crick in my neck because I'm leaning in the wrong way because this camera, I need to stop looking at it and just look up there. Um, so the difference between warning and wisdom. Warning, it is coming from a place of fear. It's rooted in fear. And I've mentioned this before when I try to understand, even for myself, where is this feeling of fear coming from? And part of my understanding of fear itself is that it's not out to hurt you and it's not your enemy. But in fact, fear is coming from a place of remembering when you were in a position, a disadvantage, you were in a position where you were weak, you were in a position where you were taken advantage of, you were in a position where you failed, you were in a position where you were hurting, you were in a position where it was hard for you. And fear remembers that. It remembers that. And so when you're about to make another decision, especially a major life decision, fear is using what it remembers. It's not prophecy that you are going to repeat the exact same thing that as you've experienced. But it's for you to tap into that fear and go, okay, I I like you remember when I had to move to a brand new country where there were no family around at all. I didn't know anybody. I was just moving with my husband, and I had to navigate how to find a job, get re educated, get certified, build a network, build family around me through chosen friends. I had to remember that. I had to remember the times where things were going good in my life, and all I was anticipating was the bad things happening because I was so used to, and it was so ingrained in me that nothing good happens to me. That if something good was happening, I surely should expect the worst to come. And I remembered that. So, as fear is reminding me one thing, my wisdom and my maturity is now also helping me to go, actually, we've been here before. So, fear is using data. Fear is using data that it already collected, it's in the past. But it's not a prophecy of the future, because you can use that information to create a different narrative and a different outcome for your life. And that's what I've done time and time again. The last 6 months alone have taught me that I'm able to survive with very little. There are people who are speaking from a place of lack, but also a place of ignorance, because they may not have the skill sets that you have. And the skill sets is not talking about just the things that you acquire through schooling, but also the things that you acquire through experience and mindset shift, through the paradigm shift, through you choosing to not be the same person like other people that you've seen and the outcomes of their lives. You making choices that you're not even going to be the same person you were. The grammar, don't judge me. You're not going to be that same person. You're going to make different choices. And that comes through mindset. That comes through a responsibility. It comes through you taking accountability for your life and knowing that people's opinions are just opinions, and they are not there to predict how your life should be lived. So the difference between warning and wisdom. So the warning comes. I warned you. I wish you luck, but, and let me read this so I'm not. You've been warned. That is I know you are going to regret moving back here at this time when the country is going downhill. Wish you all the luck. You have been warned. That is packed full of mm, mm. And mind you, this is someone who knows of me, because I can't say they know me, because I've evolved, I've changed, I've grown. They remember me in one stage of my life, and that's the only stage of my life they've participated in. That's the only stage of my life they've participated in actively, when I could not do anything else about anything else. And I'm trying to build a gap because, of course, I'm moving back to the country and want to make sure, Now, I do want to point something out. This is one person's opinion. Now, have you ever, let me finish that statement. I could focus on just that opinion and neglect all the other opinions I've heard, all the other research I've done, all the other things that I know personally. And I could just focus on the venom that I feel coming from this message. I could do that. And this is what I was going to say. Have you ever noticed, like, when someone is on a live stream or there's a video or something, and someone makes a comment, and the comment is derogatory, it's mean spirited, it's rough, and person the person in the video will pick that one comment and they will make a whole content around it, like what I'm doing now. And I've wondered, I'm like, why do you focus on just that one comment when there might be 100 other comments, 100 other comments that have more positive message, that may be more aligned? And the reason why we focus on that negative comment with such vigor, it's because something in that message actually resonates deeply within us. There is something in it that is speaking to the fear part of us, the insecure part of us, the ugly part of us, the part of us that we don't always necessarily want to say out loud, but it speaks to something within us. It resonates within us. And so, yeah, we hear the positive things, but part of the positive words are like blah, blah, blah. And somehow we feel like we gravitate to this because this must be the words that has the most depth, the most meaning, and the most prophecy. And we lean heavily into that. And so people, they may be presenting the negative comment as if they're criticizing it, but there is something about it that hits deep. And that's the same thing for me here. When I woke up to this message, there's a reason I reached out to her in the first place. Because the reason I reached out to her was, one, I wanted to let her know, yeah, I'm going to be in your area. But also, it's like, I want some feedback. Give me some feedback. And that's actually quite natural to do. Give me some feedback. That's really essentially what you're looking for. You want to, you know, and sometimes when you ask people opinions, you are really wanting them to echo back to you what you already fear. It's like you want that sounding board to say what you don't want to say out loud. And so when they say it, of course, it's like, highlight popped up. So now that it's here, and now that it's been said, thank you. Because it's not that, in my case, it's not that I have not reflected on my fears here and reflected on the fact that I could regret this decision. But I tell you one thing, because this is not my first rodeo, and I say that with chest, I can know that I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. It's because one thing, I'm not a tree. I'm not stuck. I'm not a rock. If I have breath and I have will, with all the foundations I've already established, I can move again. I can create a different life. I can reinvent myself. I can do it again. And even in saying that, there is a level of fear, like maybe this is it. Maybe there's, oh my God, the apocalypse, it's the end. That's, some of us are coming from environments that, Jesus, we live in this fire and brimstone mindset. Everything comes with some kind of apocalyptic ending. Everything. You can't just live. You spend your entirety thinking about the worst case scenarios in everything. You can't just live. You spend your time day in, day out worrying about what could go wrong. Now, I have to tell you, I've met people who that's not their reality. And I do kind of envy them because I'm like, how comes you just out here living life? What? Mad, mad. It's actually maddening to believe there are some people out here who do not govern their life by fear. What? That is mind-boggling. Even saying that, and I'm telling you, I'm saying this as a person who has spent time growing and developing from some of those mindsets. And the thing is, you can't escape it. If your childhood, for better or worse, is the foundation that your whole entire adult life is built upon. And I'm telling you, sometimes it's going to take the entire lifetime to undo some of the shackles that were done, some of the programming and the brainwashing, and that in itself is work. So I understand why there are estranged family members. There are people who will rather not talk to moms and dads and siblings because them tired. Them tired. Remember, some people have their own demons to deal with, you know. They have their own fears. So when somebody open their mouth and I talk to you, they don't just want to hear you dump all of your demons on them as well. Because that's not helpful. And sometimes that can drive a person to madness, to craziness. When they're already dealing with stuff and them not have nobody with no life coming out of their tongue, no positive things, no wisdom. And I'm going to get to the wisdom. No wisdom. Everything is fear mongering. Everything is apocalyptic. Everything is judgment day. How do you live like that? How can you possibly live like that when you day in, day out, even if somebody is not out to get you, even if somebody is not trying to rob, pillage, none of those things, you're doing it to yourself. How can you possibly live an abundant and fruitful and joyful life living like that? How? So even if there's no danger without, there's danger within. And that's an awful way to spend your humanity. Your human experience should not just be about suffering and every day looking for the worst possible outcome. And I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to me because I have to break some of these shackles. Junior is up. Hey, Junior, I woke you up, brother. Junior's like, girl, too passionate, man, too passionate. And you know what? I love that about me. So when I said I can't stay into certain environments, that's what I mean. When I am in environments that ask me to dilute myself and shrink myself, and I cannot be as passionate as I want to be, I've got to leave. Because who I am is valuable, not just for my well being, because I have to be me so I can bloom and glow and grow. Otherwise, I'm just going to shrivel up and just perish, but also for others, for other people. Somebody needs a Marsha. And I cannot allow the disheartenment and the oh jeez. I can't. I can't. I can't. I cannot. So one thing I know for a fact is if you spend your life in misery, always thinking miserable thoughts, thinking about the worst outcome, nobody has to do anything to you. You're already doing it to yourself. Nobody has to do anything to you. You're already doing it to yourself. And nothing is going to change until you change. So the environment that you are saying is awful could be awful because you are awful. Your thoughts. And I'm going back. I think about that for here too. Me saying I gotta leave England. I'm no. I think about that and I think about, okay, Marsha, what about it? Because I truly believe coming back here, as much as I say I regret it, I'm going to be honest with you. I think this was a necessary stage in my development. And not just mine, but for our daughter and just a lot of, just for this whole chapter in our lives. Because life is not linear. Life is not linear. It's cyclical, which means it goes around. What goes around comes around. And the one thing that is consistent in life is change. And there is something, because I came back here, there's something here I needed so I can go to the next phase of my life. I don't know why people feel say, if you come somewhere, you have to stop there. And I just say you have to stay forever and ever and ever. I know someone live my life. And I tell her that no. Because some of you don't understand that. And some me live my life. When I go one place and go stuck in a like tree. If the place don't suit me, may I leave. Because I have lived and I've created. Not just, I'm not talking about money because say that I'm mad some no. You don't understand that everything is not about money. You can create opportunities in different ways. I know this because I do it on a daily basis. And I know for a fact the opportunity starts here first, in your head and in your heart. Some of you don't have no good heart about you. Your mindset is. And I'm not saying I'm the best person out here in these streets, but I'm also not saying I'm an awful person either. I've spent some good time working on me, but even before I was working on me, I wasn't hateful or hurtful. Some of y'all have done some wickedness, and that's why you live in so much fear because of what you've done. And let me not talk about that because that's not what I came here to talk about. But I do want you to check yourselves because some of you have done some wickedness in your life and you low key believe you deserve the wickedness that's coming back to you. You feel like it's your karma. You feel like it's your punishment. So when you are projecting, when you're speaking things to other people, as well intentioned as it may be, some of it is coming from the place of you actually believe that pain is a reward. You feel like this is what you deserve. And so therefore, everybody else, I must so it's there for everybody, but I'm a circle for everybody. And a circle for everybody. And some me live my life. And some live my life at all. Right, Julie? That's not how I live my life. So I went around there because I didn't even know I was going to say that, man. That took me out of my Life is too valuable for you and I to be spending every waking day in worry. Every moment concerned about what could go wrong. And I'm talking to those of us who are in environments that are not a war zone, because there are people who are living in physically, they are in spaces where it's hard to navigate. Some of you are not in those physical environments. The war that you're facing is in your head. The war that you're facing is in your head. Some of you are not in those physical war zones. You will not look outside and see anything popping off. Some of you are in quiet environments, peaceful environments. Around you is abundance, honestly, but you're miserable because you're miserable. So it brings me to the wisdom. In a situation like this, let me use my example, this decision to move back to Jamaica. And we know that Jamaica is a country that has been known for a few things: jerk chicken, reggae music, and violence. Oh, and running and bobsled. That one as well. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So we are an island in the Caribbean that is really well known. It's well known. And sometimes we are well known for um, awful things. And so, in the economic climate, even the political climate that I don't really get myself involved in because I focus on what I can control. And some of these things, when it comes to politics, I already know with my good senses that there's some things I cannot control. And even if I can do something about it, I don't have the power to change it immediately, right? So I like to work in my lane. I like to stay in my lane, and I like to work with what I can change. And so when you think about a person who is going to pick up themselves, because that's how you guys view it, they're picking up themselves from these really rich countries where them have everything, them comfortable, them have, all the conveniences, life, good life, look, them have the money and this, that, and the other. And these are the things that you guys are already thinking. So you in your head, you're like, well, um, if they're moving, and I'm not talking about people who are forced to leave, because I'm not forced to live anywhere. Gratefully and thankfully, I can move about with freedom. I can move to different countries if I want to, because gratefully, I have multiple citizenships and I can live in different places. Gratefully, and I'm saying this humbly, but also I worked for this. I have my education and my degrees and my experience because I'm gonna tell you something. I don't feel like education and titles and degrees put you on a pedestal over anybody. I really don't. I just feel like it gives you a key. And sometimes that key unlocks certain doors that others can't or won't, right? And vice versa. There's some people without no degrees and they're able to unlock doors I haven't opened yet. But I say all of that to say I have built a foundation. So I have the freedom, gratefully. And that's very important to me and my human experience, to have the freedom to move about and to create. And I may not have everything that I want, but by golly, I do have everything that I need. But when the wisdom part comes into it, you have to, and you're going to open your mouth. If somebody comes to you and they share with you, because you have to remember, they didn't have to share anything with you. When somebody open their mouth and tell me something about their decision or their lives, I take it as a privilege. I take that if someone confides in me about anything and asks me, and I take that it's so humbling to be in that position where somebody feels enough of me to ask me or share something with me. So when somebody does that, you have a responsibility then to use wisdom with how you respond if they're asking you to respond. Because sometimes they're not really asking you to respond. Sometimes people just saying what they're saying, they're looking for ventilation and they just expect you to just sit there and take it. I'm not saying that's right, but sometimes that's what it is. And sometimes you do have to, even when they're venting, you do have to intervene and say something, but you have to use wisdom. You have a responsibility to use wisdom. And so in this case of Jamaica, then, if you are worried about when you say the country is going downhill, first of all, what does that mean? Because what looks like downhill to you might look like uphill to me. Because so some of us look through completely different lens. We have completely different experiences. And I've lived in different places, and some of those places I'm like, oh Lord, I don't want to live there anymore for certain reasons, specific reasons. So you might be looking and you're saying, okay, Jamaica is going downhill. And I'm looking through my lens and going, actually, based on what I saw as a kid with my own eyes in certain places, because I never live every which part. And you also have to remember, right? Which is interesting sometimes because we don't remember this, that you are living a human experience and somebody right next to you could be living a completely different one, even though you guys are standing in the same spot. Because it just depends on your view, what you're looking at, what you're wearing, what you have over your head, what you have in your heart, how prepared you were. There's so many things where two people could be standing in the same spot and having two different experiences. So when somebody says, oh, the country is going downhill, I'm looking and I'm going, based on what I've seen as a child, when I visited, when I've heard, what I'm watching, what I've experienced in these other places I've lived, compared to this, just seeing the things that are happening. And I have a certain mindset as well. I'm very entrepreneurial. I don't know where I got that from though. I'm very entrepreneurial. And so I see things certain ways. I see opportunities maybe in places that people wouldn't see it. And I'm seeing, so where you might be thinking the country's not going downhill, I may not see it that way. So you may have to be specific. So wisdom would be then, not I know you will regret it, because you don't know nothing. You don't know that. You don't know that. How do I know you don't know that? Because you don't even know what your next step's going to be. If you knew all these knowings, you would have made different decisions about your own life. So you don't know what's going to happen in my life. You may believe that, and you are entitled to your belief. You can believe with your whole heart, mind, soul, and body about something, but that does not make it a reality, and it does not make it a prophecy. That doesn't mean just because you believe it, that means that's what's going to happen. Now, I also know some people, they have certain hearts. Their heart is set up in a certain way that because they believe something so strongly, they will do things in their power to make sure what they believe happens. And that goes either way. That can be good or bad. That goes either way. When some people want to prove a point and make sure that their belief is they will go to extents to ensure that they were right. And again, either way, because belief is a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. But your belief affects you. Yes, you can project it onto other people. Yes, you can do that. But take that strong energy And with wisdom, use it to create a better experience for you and other people. Like honestly, take that experience, that energy that you have, that vigor in that belief, because when you believe so strongly, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of passion, it takes a lot of commitment. And sometimes if that's not channeled in the right direction, that can create havoc when it had the potential of creating something much more meaningful. So wisdom would be, okay, I know you're coming back to the country. That's the decision you've made as an adult. Because you're on a picnic. As an adult who've lived lives that I don't even know about and done things that I have never even considered doing, I know you've made this decision. And based on what I know of you, I know you thought through this decision and you've carefully come to this conclusion. So, because you've done that, wisdom is telling me to give you guidance on how to succeed in this environment that you may be unfamiliar with now. Because I know you've lived here as a child, you didn't live here as an adult. So, here's what I can give you to help you to be successful in this space. Now, I don't know if it will work. I don't know if you are going to regret this decision, but because you've shared this with me, I can tell you these are things that you're going to need to do like almost immediately so that you can it can help with the transition a little bit smoother. And if you need me there for you to help you, I'm going to be there. That's what care looks like. That's what wisdom looks like. You telling somebody that they're going to regret it, and mind you, it's not like I'm out here doing any wickedness. It's not like I'm out here and I do all these bad man things, and I am making a move to the country I come from. And the country I come from. And I'm not out here doing anything awful. And instead of using wisdom to say, hey, okay, all right, Marsha, okay, this is what you say you're gonna do. Okay, here's what you're gonna. I don't know if you thought about this already. I know that you're pretty smart. You're a pretty intelligent woman, and you've done some pretty interesting things. I don't know what all of those things are, and I don't know if I would do them, but I don't know if you've thought about these things, but maybe you should, because I know it's kind of different. I know you could look this up online, but some of the things you may not know about just from this end, being in the country. So these are things that you're going to need to know. And also, I'm going to be here for you. I'm glad you're coming because I'm here, and I'm going to be here for you. And listen, if it doesn't work out, it's all good. You'll bounce back, and we'll see how this goes, but I'm here for you. No, instead, you've been warned. What kind of something that's very interesting. It's very interesting. But the difference for me between and this is where I'm going to wrap this up, because when you make major decisions, and I've done this many times, that go against the grain, go against what the family norms or dynamic is, it doesn't just affect like how other people perceive you, but it affects you and how you perceive yourself, and the emotion that you conjure up, and the feelings that you have to process. There are childhood memories that come up. There's so many things. There are areas of your life that you feel like, oh, I had that under control, that the person saying those things may it brings up things. So you going against the grain, you stepping out on faith, you working through whatever it is with courage, that doesn't always just happen without consequences. You're going to go through feelings and you're going to have to work through things. And just because you feel the fear doesn't mean that the decision you've made is the wrong decision. Just because there are people, I'm not unfamiliar with people being naysayers. Jesus, I'm not unfamiliar. In fact, there's there's so many things that I've done in life that if I'd listened to the naysayers, because there were also people who were like, go for it, try it. And for whatever reason, I remember them people there, but the one them would tell me who told me you can't do it. For whatever reason, I remember them. Well, some of them I don't remember. But you know, you do have to go through. You have to go through it when you decide to make decisions that's just different. There are always going to be people who are going to have something to say that does not fit the narrative. um and you want to use that too, because like I said, with fear is based on data. It's coming from somewhere, and it's then up to you to then use the information that fear is supplying you with to create the outcome that you're looking for. So in my situation, I already know Jamaica is known for certain uh, criminal climate, or that's what they tell us. Okay, because there are things that happen right here that they don't broadcast every which part. But so because I have that information, because I've had my personal experiences, because I hear other people's story and I listen to other people as well, because of that, then I can put in place certain things that can help me address that, address where I'm going to live, where I'm going to work, how I'm going to get through, thinking about my child, how that's going to work out. There are thoughts, lots of thoughts that go into it, lots of planning that goes into it. But at the end of the day, what I do know is that even with all the planning, there's no prediction. You can't predict what will happen, but you have to be determined. I want a life that is fulfilling, that aligns with who I am and who I'm becoming. And I'm going to move towards that. And when I get to that place, because I realize that life is not a destination, it is all about the journey, it's all about the experience. Then when I get to that place, I will also move to the next place that aligns with who I am and who I'm becoming. I don't know why you guys are so set in your mind that when you get to one place, you have to be there and you have to be stagnant and you're stuck. You're not a tree. Move. And I know that sounds easier said than done, depending on your situation, because some of you are of the mindset that you only have opportunities if you have money. So you cannot even see when an olive branch is handed right in your face. You can't see it because your mindset already blocks you. So it's very difficult. And this is why I can't take it personal, because it's for some people, it's very difficult for them to see any way out, any other way, because that's not how their mindset is set up. That's not how their human experience has been. I have put work in creating the life I want to live. And I'm not talking about the physical, the material things you can see. I'm talking about this in my head. Because if I try to escape from any one place and in here is a hot mess, I'm going to take that hot mess with me wherever I go. So I spend time challenging my fears, working, cooperating with my fears too. Like, hey, let's talk through this. Where are we being irrational right now? Well, where are we just being a bit too extra right now? But where do we find the rationality and how do we address that? I cooperate with my fear too. I spend time trying to unpack the childhood traumas and the adult traumas and the different choices and decisions that I make and be more accountable for my actions so that I can make different ones for different results in my life. I spend time doing that, so I can't take it personal when another person says certain things because they don't know the work I've done, but also they may not have done any of the work I've done. So now wisdom tells me, this is where wisdom comes in because it's my life and I'm accountable for my life. I'm responsible for my actions. The decisions I make is about me. Yes, it affects other people, like my daughter, but it's about me. And so I have a responsibility to use wisdom in who I ask for information, who I share things with, how I move, where I go, what I do. I have a responsibility to use wisdom too. So I can't rely on other people. So now wisdom tells me speak to people who have been in a similar situation as you. Who do you know that have lived in England? And I've made those connections with people, some of those people who've lived in England, who've moved back to Jamaica, who've lived in America and moved back to Jamaica, who've been professionals, and speak to these people. Collect information. Again, two people could be standing in the same spot having two different experiences because they're two different people. And so I can't just take, and mind you, I can take all these people information and go to Jamaica and still have a completely different experience from them. There's no predictability here. There's a pattern. We can look at patterns, and patterns give us information. But as far as prophecy and saying this is what's going to happen, I know you're going to regret your decision. I know that this is going to be terrible for you. I know you've been warned. Nobody can do that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this live stream. And for those of you who are coming in, because you're going to be responding hopefully after this, send me a message here. You can also send me an email. And if you really just want to know about just the process right now as a returning resident, how to get back to Jamaica, if you're traveling with animals, how to do that, if you want to ship your things, because these are some of the things that are very uncomfortable for other people to do because sometimes you just don't want to deal with it, especially the bureaucracy in Jamaica, and you kind of know that some things just take a lot longer. So sometimes people don't want to go that route because it's aggravating. Actually, this part has been a lot less aggravating than I thought it would be, although it still is a little time consuming. And financially, it's a little bit, ooh, child, didn't know that. But I watched videos, and that's one thing I learned from my daughter. She spent a lot of time. She's a researcher child. She will plan things. So I really picked up that trait from my child. Okay. But so watch videos, YouTube videos, playing with my hair, YouTube videos, and just listen to other people, their experiences, what they did. And so far, even with my experience doing the planning and stuff, because I've not come across anyone yet who have traveled with their animals, and I've done it once before, from the States to England. So I know, you have information. I'm not starting from scratch. I'm coming in and with information, but you do know, I do understand that that's how you gain confidence as well, because you have your own fears, you're hearing people saying certain things, so that can rub you down and just push you down and beat you down. But you gain confidence when you listen to other people's conversations and see how they navigated some of the challenges you're going through. But also when you look back to your own personal situation, like when was there a time where I had a similar situation and what did I have to do to get through this? What did I have to do to make it through? So that's what all of those things that I'm doing now. So if you are a person though who's thinking about moving back to Jamaica, um, and you're moving with your animals, you're moving with your child, you want to ship your car, you want to ship your belongings, I have information, and you're a returning resident. I do have information on that because I'm going through that process. And so yeah, so that's something you can reach out to me on. Even if you're a person who traveling from like Texas to the UK, I have information on that as well because I've done it. And so, that's what we pass on information. But when you're pleased, know that when you are sharing your experiences with others, know that your experience is not a prophecy of what is going to happen to that person. It's not a predictability or um what you call it, I can't even think of the word now, like it's not a certain that what you experience is what they're going to experience, good, bad, or indifferent. You could have completely different experiences. So when you share information with them, share it with wisdom. Give them like practical steps of how they can actually maneuver and do what they say they're going to do, especially if they're asking for guidance, because people need guidance with wisdom, right? And just let them know you'll be there to support them, not you've been warned and then just bye. Good Lord. But lots of data that I've been collecting just from making this decision to move back to the UK, but also to move to Jamaica specifically, because there is the mindset that why would you leave a country like here to go back to Jamaica? I'm from Jamaica. I'm Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. I have never stopped being Jamaican. I've just lived in different places. I've never stopped being Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. So it is very disheartening when you hear people talk about the country they're from, the place they're from, the culture they're from in derogatory ways. It is disheartening, but at the same time, that's people's experience and they're entitled to it. It's just not mine. And so wisdom tells me that I need to know when to pluck up and discard some of those things that I've heard and seen so it doesn't take root in who I am, in my psyche. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marsha Kerr Talley, and this is Live Inspired. This is me turning pain into possibility because this is what I do and I do it well. You can check out my books on my website, marshakertalley.com. You can check out some of the other episodes I've done over the years on my website as well, that is there. And just seeing the future of what I'm doing. My articles are also there. I do have a Substack, so you can find me on Substack as well. And I think that is in the description here. Typically, I am not in my robe for these live streams, but today kind of called for it. It was like, let me just go ahead and do it, because that's the other thing. Sometimes you're waiting for perfection. You're waiting for the perfect time. You want to have the perfect weight. You want to look the perfect way. You want to have the perfect amount of money, the perfect partner, the blah, my God, blah. And you don't get anything done. Before you know it, 15 years have passed and you've not done it. Just not done it. It's just like pension. Have not done it. Have not set up anything in your retirement or insurance. I'm talking to myself. And so, moral of the story is sometimes just do it. Okay? Just do it and get out there and get it done. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun. And again, there is a difference, a vast difference between warning and wisdom. Warning is not a prediction, it is data. Fear, warning is coming from fear, but it's data that you can use to help you move in wisdom. So move in wisdom. guide somebody else in wisdom, and make decision in wisdom. This is Marsha Talley. Have a fantastic day. Bye.